We are very fortunate this evening in having as our principal guest Nicola Cook, and who I am proud to say is an old girl of the school. Nicola is CEO of her own business company Shortcuts, and Nicola herself has this year published her first novel under the pen name Isabella Wiles. I now have great pleasure in inviting Nicola to give her address.
Girls, teachers, parents, governors, the Right Worshipful Mayor of Durham, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this evening. The last time I stood on this platform was in 1989, when I walked up here to collect my own A-level certificates. And by telling you that, I've just inadvertently admitted my own age. Obviously, I'm still 21. I remember that day with absolute clarity, and I can still recall where I was sitting, right over there, and the excited nervousness I felt during the evening. Dame Nanette de Valois gave the address that evening, so I have some very big shoes to fill tonight. And I still remember some of the pearls of wisdom that she shared, which hopefully you girls will also take away some of those pearls that I hope to share with you now. So I'd like to begin with a story. I may be best known for my professional successes and publications, but my most important role is that, like many of the people sat here to my right, is being a mother to my two young boys, one of them who is also here in the audience tonight with me. My eldest son, when he was about 7 years old, one day asked very innocently, "So what is it that you do, Mummy?" And I replied that I run a company. And then what ensued was a conversation where I tried to explain to him what I do on a day-to-day basis. But through his 7-year-old eyes, my life must look very different. He sees a mum who no doubt works very hard, but who spends a lot of her time with her laptop on her knee, or who's on the phone, or writing books, or who talks about meetings and meeting clients. And my children have to contend with my frequent absences away from home. And every week while I'm gallivanting wherever, all over the world sometimes, it's their dad who steps in and does the school run and makes the dinner and does the shopping and walks the dog and tucks them up into bed when I'm not there. Anyway, my son then asked me, "So, Mum, did you go to university?" To which I replied, "No, I didn't." And I'll come back to that story in a little bit later. But I told him that I went to college and I studied business and I got a job and I worked my way up from there. And I asked him, "Why do you ask?" After thinking very hard, he replied, "Because I've decided I don't want to go to university. I think I'm just going to get myself a wife." Now, I'm sure when this school opened in 1884 and the then Bishop of Durham, Joseph Lightfoot, proclaimed, "Daughters should be educated that they may be fit companions for their husbands," I'm sure he never envisaged a future where that coin had flipped so much that an old girl would now have the reverse challenge of raising two young boys to grow up and be the next generation of our young men, and for them to have more ambition than to simply marry well. As it says in our school literature, my, how far we have come. My own thought when my son said this to me was, wowzers. Personally, I am only 3 generations from getting the vote. And this year, in case it's escaped your notice, is the centenary of the Representation of People Act, which was the Act of Parliament that first gave women the right to vote. Something that some of you here tonight, who may have recently turned 18 years old, will have the opportunity to do. And I hope you always choose to exercise that privilege, if only out of respect for the many women who fought for that right for us. So think about this. My own grandmothers, perhaps your great-grandmothers, were the first women of their generations who were able to exercise that right. And even my own mother, who was also here tonight in the audience, as recently as the 1970s, the decade that I was born, was not allowed to open a bank account with either her father's signature or her husband's signature as a co-signer. Now, it would be hypocritical of me to stand here tonight and say that we've achieved 100% gender equality in every area of our society. But if the comments of my then 7-year-old son are anything to go by, we have indeed come a very, very, very long way since this school was founded. Or my granny was given the right to vote and therefore a voice, or my mother could open her own bank account and therefore have financial independence. I, like you girls, stand here tonight, stand on all the shoulders of all the women and some men who have fought for us to have the right to do and be whoever we choose, to have the right to be educated, to have the right to the exact same opportunities as our male counterparts. You were given this opportunity for a reason. Your job now is to go out into the world and uncover your gift and find a way to use it. Create something magical. Go and change the world. Go and do something amazing. And this links nicely to my second story. When I was studying for my A-levels in 1987, I was one of only 4 girls that chose to study this new fandangled subject that had just been introduced that year called computer science. My gut told me that this was going to be an important area of knowledge for my generation, and I was keen to learn more. So I was amongst the first 4 girls at this school to ever learn any form of computer coding skills. Anyway, as A-level students, we were all invited to a 6th form teaching day at Sunderland University. So in we walked, and me and my 3 friends, and we walked slap bang into a room full of about 450 boys. And my first thought was, have we come on the wrong day? Where's all the girls? Were they here yesterday, or are they coming tomorrow? And up until that point in my life, it had never occurred to me that I might have chosen a subject that did not fit my gender, which I would only realize later was such a gift. The business world that I operate in now is still largely male-dominated. It's a normal, everyday occurrence for me to be the only female in a room full of men in pinstripe suits. And you know what? It doesn't even bother me. I hardly even notice it. And I credit that mindset solely from my time here at the High. Here at the high school, we study and choose subjects based on our own choices and on what we're good at, not because of any predisposed rules that girls should study for one thing and boys another. And I was delighted to hear you also mirror that thought. Since leaving school, if I've ever come up against any discrimination for being a girl, quite frankly, I've just punched right through it. And I've done that by being better, by working harder, by being more determined, by delivering more value, and by never, ever, ever, ever giving up until I've achieved what I set out to do. And there is no doubt that belief came from my grounding here. So my advice now is to continue with this mindset after you leave these halls. It will serve you well. Hopefully, like me, as you leave school and start this next chapter of your life, you will take with you not only amazing memories of your time here, the fantastic friendships you'll have made and the experiences you will have had, but you will have developed some good, solid habits that will also set you up for continued success. Here's just 3 that I hope you will continue to use in your life after school. A thirst for knowledge. Please, please hold on to your desire to learn. As I say to my own boys all of the time, your main job at school is to fall in love with learning, because your appetite for learning and personal growth directly impacts your level of success. So keep feeding that brain of yours for the rest of your life. It is your most valuable asset. Discipline. Be prepared to put the hours in to get where you want to be. We all have to do it. And I know some of you will have studied exceptionally hard in the last year or so for the exams that you've managed to achieve and the rewards that you're going to get later. There are no shortcuts to success. And some say luck is just opportunity and preparation coming together. So just work hard at making yourself more lucky. Resilience. You will have disappointments and knockbacks in life. That's a given. And your success is directly proportional to how well you're able to dust yourself off, stand up, hold your head high, and to keep on going regardless. Now, remember I said I didn't go to university. Well, that isn't because I originally didn't want to. So I want to give some of you some hope here. Maybe there's some of you in the audience tonight who don't yet know the exact direction of your next step in life, or perhaps you didn't get the grades you hoped for and have to make a different choice. If you did, and you do, and you're going to where you wanted to, then that's great and I congratulate you. But 29 years ago, I was the girl sat in the third row from the back who, if I'm honest, felt like a failure. I wasn't a star pupil by any stretch of the imagination. I did work relentlessly at my academic studies, yet I only managed to scrape through. To put that into some context, sounds quite similar to the results that I'm hearing from this evening. The year that I sat my A-levels, there were 99 exams taken out of our sixth form group, and 50 of them were passed with either grade A or A star. From my year, 15 girls went on to study at either Oxford or Cambridge. I was one of only 2 girls that didn't go to university, and the other, by choice, went to work on in her dad's business. Little did I know that for me, not going to university and instead choosing to go to college and study an HND was, in hindsight, the absolute best decision I could have made. Because here's the thing, and here's the other lesson I would only learn later in my own life, is there's no such thing as failure. Only ever the opportunity to learn and grow, unless, of course, you choose to give in, sulk, and give up. Let me give you some more examples of how perceived failure in my own life turned out into later success by applying some of the lessons I've shared with you thus far. As you've already heard, I've published multiple books, 2 of which are stocked here in the library, so you can go and look them up. And I've written in books for both business and more recently in fiction. 2 of my works have been bestsellers, topping business charts around the world, and I've been translated into 16 languages and counting. And I failed English literature. As I've already said, I didn't go to university and study for an undergraduate degree, but I'm now invited to lecture at many of the top universities around the world. And in fact, a number of years ago, Newcastle Business School invited me to study for a PhD with them as they were so interested in my subject matter. So the girl who didn't get the grades to go to university originally was invited to study for the highest level of degree by one of the top business schools in the UK. So I hope you can see that while these disappointments and setbacks can seem overwhelming and all-consuming when you're in the thick of it, I firmly believe, in my case, they have led me full circle to come right back here onto this stage 29 years later. Every time life doesn't go your way, you have a choice. You can choose to be a victim and blame other people, your family, the teachers, the system, or the unfairness of a situation, or you can choose to use that as fuel to grow, to ask, what can I do differently next time? How can I change this situation for me? How can I make myself more lucky? And that is the mindset of a true leader. A person who takes absolute and complete 100% responsibility for themselves, their mind, their actions, regardless of the challenges or the hurdles put in front of them. But I do remember sitting in this very room at my own speech day and on the inside feeling inferior to all of the other amazing girls around me with their reams and reams of prizes and awards. However, excuse me, inside me, I always had this little fizz, this little bubble of energy that was just waiting to burst out. And what I didn't know then was that I just hadn't found the right outlet to let it out and to let it shine. So never compare yourself to you or your situation to anyone else. They are on their journey, you are on yours. And what other people think of you is none of your business. Just remember, you are so much more than the sum of your Facebook likes or your Instagram followers, or dare I even say it, your academic credentials. Your legacy will not be measured by the dizzy heights of your own success, but by how well you helped others along the way, how you improved the world around you, one person or one situation at a time. So set your own standards. Live up to your own expectations and think about how you can use your life to enhance the lives of others, or better yet, humanity as a whole. So I ask you tonight, what difference can you make? What will your legacy be? Only in the stillness of your own heart do you know your own truth. Only you know when you lie in bed at night whether you did your absolute best that day. So as I take my leave from you this evening, I shall return home and continue my task of raising my 2 sons and hopefully helping raise their aspirations to be more than to simply marry well. Although if they did ever come home and announce that they wanted to marry a girl from the High, then secretly I don't think I'd have any issue with that. I have a feeling she would give them a right run for their money. And I shall end up by quoting the last 2 lines from the American poet Mary Oliver's poem, The Summer Day. So tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Thank you and good night.